Welcome to Between Data and Risk podcast. Today we'll be discussing creating and executing digital transformation strategies. To give us a practical perspective on digital transformation in an industrial context, we have invited Marcus Koehnlein, Head of Digital Business at United Grinding Group. Stay tuned.
If you're a business owner or senior manager, you probably had more than enough about all the wonderful opportunities awaiting you in the era of digitalization.
Whether it is big data, cloud, data science, or whatever buzzword is currently trendy.
If you would like to hear someone dissecting these claims and showing you what it actually takes to improve business processes, you're in the right place.
This is Between Data and Risk, where we discuss real-life examples of what works and what doesn't in the world of business operations.
Hello, I'm Artur Cognition Shared Solutions Chief Risk and Strategy Officer, and with me is my co-host, your friendly neighborhood data guy, Dr. Marian.
Hello, everyone.
Welcome to this episode of Between Data and Risk. Today we'll be talking about developing digital strategies, and we're excited to have with us today our guest, Marcus Koehnlein, Head of Digital Business at United Grinding Group, who agreed to share his experiences with us. Hello, Marcus.
Hello, great to be here today.
It's great to have you here.
So let's start with a question, kind of to give a context to this whole discussion. We had an episode before on data strategy. We are talking a lot about digital transformation. So what is a digital strategy and how it differs from the previous one?
Digital strategy is in the end the plan for the digital transformation. So it is very close connected, and I believe every company needs a digital strategy who wants to go into the digital world and wants to do it in a good and serious way. So that's why it's really important to think about a plan and to think how to make it.
Every company needs one. So at which point should they start thinking about this? Is something that should be part of a formation of a company nowadays, that everything is digital, or is it something that can come later? When do we do this?
Yeah, so I believe today you need to think about digital. You need to think what you want to do in this digital world. And that's why I think every company needs to think about it and needs to discuss that. And of course, you need a lot of topics to look at. There is a broad range what you need to do, and it's not that easy. And that's why it's also so challenging for so many companies. But I believe you have to think about it.
But let's assume that we are not forming a company. Let's assume that we have already operating company, and we wake up one day and say, "Oops, the train is already off the station. I need to jump it." Like, what is the first step I should take as a CEO or the business owner?
Yeah.
Should I start, in example, with hiring chief data officer, or should I try to form some data or framework of digital strategy myself and then choose the proper CDO? What is the first step for someone who just woke up and said, "Wow, I need it now"?
Yeah. So what I what I think is it's normally connected to the vision. So you have, as a company, you always have a vision. You have a purpose. You have a direction. You have this northern star where you go as a company. And normally every classical company has that. And that's why I believe there must be a connection. So you can't just do something digital, which is not in your DNA. And that's why I think you first start with your normal corporate vision, and that must be connected. So, for example, I give you an example. So if you think of Nike, it's a big company, and they have this vision to inspire all athletes in the world. So that gives already a direction. So that means also their digital strategy should be connected to that vision and should go into this direction and not into processes, into something else. It should be focused on the athlete. So supporting around your core business, I think, is the topic which brings most value and where you have the most experience. So that's where you should start with. And then, of course, growing further, going into details and making your whole plan and your whole roadmap.
But it's easy
We
to
just
think about
had a
digital
discussion.
strategies in terms of companies that are online or that provide a service, service somewhere, or even someone like Nike, who is they are a company that, even though they have a physical product, they are in the media. They've got a lot of online presence. But your company produces precision machinery, which is not a brand, that not a niche that I would immediately associate with the internet. So how did that idea form, and how do you link the vision of your company to the digital strategy?
Yeah. It is, in the end, it's the same way, interestingly, because our idea is to help the customer. And our customer is B2B. It's not B2C like Nike. It's really other companies. They produce something with our machines. And our idea was, how can we help our customers to make their work easier? So that means, on the one hand side, with our hardware, with all this was there since 100 years and longer sometimes, but also with new ideas like digital technologies. And so it started also from that vision, coming from that vision, and growing on the side in the end what we do already. And what you said before, that's also very interesting, how to organize it. So do you need a CDO? What do you need for it? And that's also a big question always, because on the one hand side, you need this organization which is running. On the other hand side, you have also the classical organization. So that must be aligned, that must be matching, that you can be successful.
Okay, so what are the elements of a good data strategy? Because let's say we know that it's something that needs to link to your business strategy. I like it very much. We very often say in our podcast that whatever you do with data or with analytics or AI or whatever you do, it's like you should keep it in the context of the business. So what you say is very much aligned with what we say. Now, to be practical, let's say, okay, so I need to have a vision. Let's say I have a vision. I want to sell, I don't know, knives or whatever, and I want these knives to be the best for my customers. And what are my elements of my digital strategy that I should consider for this data strategy to complete? Because we, in our work, we've seen multiple incomplete data strategies, which were, in example, focused purely on the technical aspects. We will keep data in this data lake or in that data warehouse. What are the elements that are, let's say, required and sufficient in their bulk of a data strategy, which may actually add value?
Yeah, that was already a great point, what you mentioned, too focused on technology and too less on business. So what I see is, on the one hand side, you need to build this leadership capabilities, let's say it that way, and that's again a broad range. That's how to work with each other. That's things like failure culture, how to cooperate with each other, cross silos. So how do silos work with each others? Decision making. That's a lot of things. Agile, you name it. So quite a lot of things you have to look at, and how to manage that. And on the other side, there is the technology part. So how to make it happen with technology. And I think only if you combine these two worlds, then you can be successful. You need both. You can't say, I do just technology and run that. It will never happen, because you will crash with your organization, and the organization, when it's not supporting you with your ideas, then it will never work on the markets.
So
yes, and on the flip side, you sometimes get digital strategies which are purely focused on the outcome, ignore the technological capabilities, and they crash and burn because someone thinks, oh, we want to achieve this, and then the technologists look at this and they hold their head.
And then they hear, don't tell me about the problems, talk to me about solutions which do not exist.
Yes,
admittedly.
Absolutely, yeah.
So let's stop on the business side, because let's say the technology side is, I think, undiscussable in any finite amount of time, because number of possible technological solutions, and also number of heuristics of selecting the proper technology solution for a problem. It's we could sit here for a month and discuss it case by case.
Absolutely.
So let's focus on the, I would say, this managerial perspective. Like, what are you mentioned agile? We had an episode on agile, but what are the elements? Like, if you would sit with the CEO of the, let's say, reasonably sized company, and he would be just like, okay, I have a blank piece of paper. Like, what are the 3 main points that I need to start discussing with my people and building?
Yeah. So we come from the industrial age. We come from a very hierarchical structure from the past, and if you look at industry, companies are old. Companies are grown since 50 years, 100 years, quite historically. And there was always this DNA or this idea that the manager tells the people what to do. And this is now changing, or this is changing with the digital transformation. So we have now people everywhere which are very intelligent. They are experts. They are great in what they do. And they need to tell us as a company what to do. And that's this change to enable and to give the people the power to do that. And this is this cultural and leadership and this transformation. And that's why it's so hard. It's not just done in weeks or in months. It's years. It takes, and it's a journey. It's a long journey.
I'm now waiting for Marian to give us his favorite quote from Steve Jobs. Come on, Marian, you want it.
You don't hire smart people to tell them what to do. You hire smart people to tell you what to do.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
Now it's so the employees obviously, and actually I'm in a process of writing an article about how companies should really listen to their employees, and we've done also an episode of how companies should listen to their data, even if they don't like what the data is telling them. So creating this digital strategy and connecting it to the business should provide that link. So are there really 2 digital strategies, one for external kind of external facets of a company and one internal? Because those aspects seem to me a bit not disconnected, but it should be treated slightly differently, right?
Yeah, right. I also see that. So what can you do as a company when you do digital transformation, when you work in this digital world? So I see also there is the one side which is more on the outside. So depending also on your culture, how you are structured as a company and what you do want to do. And that's more this, I create something new on the markets. I create new products, new business models, whatever. And the other side is often very focused internally, like processes, like optimizations, like smart production, whatever, how you call it. And I think it's on the one hand side, the idea of growing your turnover, growing your company, and on the other side, more the cost focus. So how can I be smarter? How can I be smarter in production, in the things I do internally? And I think that's very important also to see these both sides and to decide where to focus. So we have limited resources. We can't do everything. That's what my experience is.
We work with processes and mapping them, and then they can be used for automation or we intertwine the data used within the processes. So let's say we are very much into this internal operations. But I'm thinking how to make it, because you created documentation, and Artur usually says that documentation is obsolete at the time of publication. So what's your advice to keep the documentation of processes or the strategy actually alive? Like how, because especially in the big companies, usually you have so much documentation that it's overflowing. It's cornucopia of papers that you should read, and you wouldn't have time to actually work. So the question is how not to make a digital strategy yet another dust collector on the shelf of some top managers.
Yeah. That's a very good point you mentioned. That I think it needs to go into into the company's culture. So it needs to flow into the company's culture. So you can document it and you can have the documentation, but if you don't live it, then it will never run. And I think this is a core part of it, to bring these ideas, how to make your transformation, how to run your new businesses, whatever you do, into the culture of the company and into the people's minds. And that's this process, and that's our things you have to consider there around that. A lot of things in the end, you can do a lot there. And if you have that integrated, then it's easier to run it.
It's almost kind of now not natural question that comes immediately afterwards. Is you mentioned a change in culture. You mentioned a change in kind of in the process, in the approach that businesses should have towards their employees. Does that all kind of imply a development of completely new business models? That because we you mentioned we've got companies which are still coming out of the industrial age, and we've got hierarchies. Should we emerge kind of more mature into completely new, as yet maybe undefined or being defined business models that will be more suited to a digital strategy implementation and actually adoption?
Yeah. I think so. Yes, I think it's also a big value to use digital technologies and create new business models, because I think never in history was a technology that scalable as it is today. So if you think of, you create a model, you have a platform, whatever it is, you can grow much faster than producing something. I always see it with our machines. It's a lot of work to produce such a huge machine, and it's a lot of, you need people, you need resources, you need logistics, you need factories. It's a huge process, and in the end, your earnings are quite small in comparison what you put into that. And if you compare it with digital technology, you just can scale it. You have 100 users, you have 1,000 users, or you have 10,000 users, but you don't need always to invest these many resources as you build one machine.
This
And
is not
that's
linear.
Why it interests me in the aspect of your company, because you've got if we invited someone from a company that is purely online and their services are online, they would be talking about this growth, and obviously their business model is already very much entrenched in the internet. But a company like yours, when you say you've got a complex product that needs to develop it from scratch, and probably the mindset of people who work on these very very precise machines is very far from let's just cobble something together and see if it works, right? Because that's very often what we get online. Let's cobble something together, see if it works. If it doesn't, we can always take it out. Whereas with those machines, I have a lot of respect for precision machines, because I play a bit with 3D printing, and the amount of tweaking that's required for that is just mind-boggling. So
You just compared
how do you
3D printing to the precision
Sorry?
machinery that you just compared 3D printing to the precision machinery.
But I said
produced by-
I have a lot of respect for it, right? I didn't say, oh yeah, it
But
must
I
be
have
easy
to tell you, we produce both. So we have already also a 3D printing company. So that's our own invention. It's a very huge 3D metal printer. So 9.2 tons, I think, is the machine.
Wow.
So very huge. And that's a very new product, half a year old. So we also go into that direction, but that's also exploration. That's trying.
So
And how
so
much-
how would you fit that into your digital strategy? How do you fit a 9.2 ton machine into your digital strategy?
It's completely integrated. No,
How?
let's say it that way. 3D printing is a process which needs, in the end, high precision machining. So you print something, but it's not precise. So it's you have the part then printed, but you need to have further optimization. So you need grinding or laser or whatever technologies where we come from. So the idea is also to say, let's use, we can offer perhaps the whole supply chain in the future. So that's far away in the future, but that's an idea or a vision for the future. So
How is
we
it
print
digital?
and make it precise.
How is it digital? Like how the digital strategy helps here? Because I can imagine that this innovation process could happen in some laboratory by the guys with melting machines and using torches instead of electric lamps. So where does the computer come in, and how does it help really?
Yeah. So what I think here is happening or could happen, that's also a future prognosis, we don't know, but it could be more decentralized, everything. So what we have now, big factories with many machines, we could have that decentralized. So you have a 3D printer and a high precision machine, and you can do that somewhere in the jungle in Brazil, for example. And why should you do that? That's the other point. Imagine you go there by train by plane, and you have a problem with your plane. So there is a high precision part in the plane which breaks, and then you need to wait for the supply chain. So it's delivered from Europe or from China. So it takes weeks until you get that part. But what if that part could be printed at a place where you have the problem and also made precise? And of course, you need to have this pattern then, and you need to have the digital information. And there comes digital into play, because there could be, let's say it's a blockchain, and we transfer this pattern, this 3D model, to that printer from the owner of this model. So there are a lot of, let's say, games or playings you can have in your mind, how digital can support the future. And I think that's endless. And that's the very exciting thing about digital transformation.
There is the famous example of, I think it was a wrench that NASA sent as a design to the International Space Station, and they 3D printed it on the International Space Station as a tool to help them do some repairs. I did that last week. My sister-in-law broke. She's a pharmacist, and she broke some equipment in her lab. And I helped my brother design it on the internet, because they live like 1,000 kilometers away. Through Zoom, we designed that part, 3D modeled it, and then it was 3D printed on his home 3D printer, and it works. So there's already this, and I think scaling it up is really a good kind of use case for many companies. Do you also do that, because that's on the kind of on the client side? How far do you go with your precision machines and your offer into showcasing that on the internet, or maybe do you have a metaverse strategy which will allow you to showcase your products in metaverse for future customers?
Yeah, I think that's an option to go, yes, but we are not there that we have yet there a concrete strategy, I have to say. Where we focus is still on the topic how to optimize the shop floor for our customers. So how can the customers run all our machines and the other machines? Normally they have many machines, they have not only our machines. And how can they optimize this whole process? And that's, for example, products we have already developed, we have in the market, and we optimize constantly. And in the end, our customers is interested in our machine, but more important is his whole process. So coming from his part to his final product.
Oh, so it's like a digital product with optimization is sort of a because I guess it's not manual service when you have a guy with the measuring tape going around and say, okay, shifted 20 centimeters left, actually 8. It's I guess it's actually a pretty interesting idea that when you think of digital strategy, you should think of new digital products accompanying your physical product, which increase the applicability or ease of use or customer satisfaction of physical products.
I can feel the words digital twin crawling towards this conversation very quickly, because I guess this is how it's done, right? You create a digital twin of your shop floor and then you optimize it digitally before you actually implement it.
In the end, we have at the moment a product which customer uses. We call it production monitor, and it's connecting. The customer can connect all his machines, and then he sees all the information about all his machines, all his production, and the basic information is, first of all, is the machine running? And that's already what we see, a big step for many customers. They just don't have that information yet. And this is what we see as more digital people, as a very basic information, but it helps already a lot to know, oh, okay, my production is stopped. I need to do something. The operator is not there or whatever.
So do you see then progress from monitoring, so passive monitoring, to some sort of more active monitoring, to full control of the shop floor by an algorithm, AI, ML?
So that's also something, that's a very, very interesting point, because what we see is two directions. The one side is this idea, what you describe as, it's called the dark factory in the end. So you have a dark factory and it runs. That's the one side. You have that for several products, but there are also a lot of products where you need a lot of human know-how. And this is very interesting to see if you talk with guys, people who have worked on a grinding machine, for example, for 20 years. They get a feeling for this machine. So they touch this machine and they look into it and they hear something. And these are things I can't hear and I can't see and I can't feel. So they have this experience I don't have. And what we are doing there is, we call it human-machine teaming. So we want to create a kind of, let's say it AI, which could learn from such experienced people and also train younger people. So it's both. It's taking the information and giving the information, like a friendly assistant which is helping you to understand what's going on in this machine. So that's why we see both directions. And I know that if we look at competitors, they focus a lot on this dark factory, on this, I have a fully automated production, there are no people anymore. But we see the tendency also in this side with this human-machine teaming.
That's actually an excellent idea, because I'm guessing once you move completely to a dark factory, one thing you lose is that experienced personnel who can then take their knowledge and provide the insight for further innovation. Because once you this has always been kind of my slight problem with complete automation. People will start moving back and losing the touch, the kind of the sci-fi trope of people being so dependent on technology that when it breaks, people just die because they don't know what to do with it.
Absolutely.
Giving back and actually teaching people, AI teaching people rather than people teaching AI is an excellent concept.
It's bidirectional, I would say. So you take someone experience and because
so you need to have a change almost in the mindset now, where people need to be receptive for that kind of bidirectional communication. I guess younger people are naturally receptive, but do you also get how do kind of more traditional businesses react to this kind? If you come with your digital strategy to a company which is already operating and they've got their machine operators, very experienced guys with years of they can hear the tiniest change in the sound of the machine. How do they react to this kind of digital?
Yeah. That's also a good point. We are a quite traditional industry. So we are not that open. If I look at our customers, they have made their know-how, created their know-how over years, over decades, and they don't want to give that just away. So that's why it's also a cultural change on the customer side. It's not only internal in a company, it's also on the customer side. And they also start to learn and start to understand how important it is to learn from data, how to optimize, how to improve better with data instead of classical engineering only. So it's also there a learning process. And of course, you have very open people. And on the other side, you have people, they just don't want to share something.
Of course, and I'm guessing, and the point I'm kind of trying to drive at is that if you're a company that has that is not completely relying on, I'm not talking about Facebook or Twitter, because they obviously their target is people who are already in front of computers. But if you're a more traditional company that is embracing digital transformation and digital strategy, I think part of that strategy needs to be also not how you change your company, but how you change your clients and bring them on this journey with you to almost make them develop their own digital strategies. Otherwise, it will fall on deaf ears.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I see that also. So it's this also this you collaborate more in the digital world. I think this is increasing what was before only competition, or more competition is now more you build a group of people you collaborate with and you exchange ideas, you grow together. And I think that's also something which is new for the industry, for the classical industry.
I know, but
go on, Marian.
There are industries which are really, I think I mentioned it on one of the episodes, like chemical industry, which the cost of stopping the process is such that introducing any innovation it's really hard, because this innovation needs to be worth and change a lot to cover the cost of stopping the production even for one day to change the process. So I guess this is really hard to there are industries harder to digitize than others. But I was thinking about this educating your clients or making them more of your partners. Like, I guess that when you have a strategy, it's a group of people who developed it, and it's a really good idea. Now you need to bring it, and you mentioned it. It's like making it a real change is a challenge. Now we added to this challenge teaching your clients. Like, do you have any advice on how to translate strategy, so the set of, let's say, goals and like high level thinking, into roadmaps that would actually make it happen. Because I guess on paper everything looks good, but
and easy.
And easy.
Yeah.
So like from your experience, like I understand developing digital strategy is a hard work, and there are elements that need to be there. Now we have a strategy, and we're not
Yeah.
done. What happens now?
No, I think it's important to focus on different areas, on important parts you want to do. That's a key thing, and it's in the end also working with the know-how of your company. And by the way, I've worked also in the chemical industry, so I've also done it there, which was very exciting.
Did I say something untrue? Because I like to check myself, and sometimes what I believe is true no longer applies. So the things that I said, are they still valid? It's like, is it still extremely expensive
I would
to
see
innovate?
It. Yes, and the topic is, but the potential is quite huge in the processes. That's what was my experience from chemical industry. So you have these processes, and that to produce something is extremely expensive. So it's a process industry, but you have a lot of potential still to optimize that. And that's a big value. And when I see it from that side, I was focused with my group there massively more on internal processes, on internal topics in digital transformation. And today, when I look in the machine industry, we are massively focused on external topics. So we are really, what we discussed, focused on how to make our customers better, how to help our customers, and how to make digital products in the end. So that's also a huge difference.
So in the end, I think where we've arrived at is that a digital strategy not only impacts the core business, or maybe it even to a lesser extent impacts the core business of the company, but today's markets force the companies to extend their activities by having a digital strategy to a bit more softer approach on the software in the sense of software hardware difference, reaching into developing software supporting their product, developing customization, developing in the previous episode we spoke to a gentleman who talked to us about value creation in the metaverse, and it's there's every company can present their products in the metaverse, and I think that area is still unexplored. But presenting your product in the metaverse is, I think, the simplest and the most basic thing that can be done. There's a lot more. I actually remember a story one of my friends told me. He works in a related industry, in the mining industry, where they wanted to explore a certain pipeline of production, and the management asked him to actually do it on physical machines, and gave him some humongous budget, and he did it for a fraction of the budget just by doing it in VR. Actual analysis of production, and so this I'm guessing even with your company, even design of the companies, and I'm kind of letting my fantasy run free here, even designing a precision machine in VR can be a completely revolutionary experience.
I think it's already happening. A lot of engineering is done in CAD, in vectors.
Yes.
Before it's not like you put two pieces of metal together and you see if they work like they should. There is modeling. The modern engineering is.
I'm talking about someone driving a Ferrari, and you're saying, oh, there are already bikes in the world, you don't need that. I'm talking about full VR. You model it in VR, in 3D, and it actually works, and there's enough enough intelligence in the system to be able to create it and work it and do it in completely virtual reality.
Yeah.
Whether
Absolutely.
that exists, I don't know, but it would be terrible,
Yeah.
terrific.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I've never seen that before, but yeah, I guess also it's there are more potentials. There are so many potentials, and as you know, I don't know if you saw that we have built a gigantic smartphone in the end for our machines. I don't know if you saw that. It's called Core, and
No.
we I always tell the people it's a gigantic smartphone because it looks like that, and you steer the machine with that. And that's also innovation we have done in the last years, quite intense innovation, I would say, quite hard work. And we steer all our machines now with the same systems. So it doesn't matter if it's a very big machine like for production of plane turbines or a very small machine for production of special drills. So you steer it with the same system. And I think we call it also revolution. And core customer-oriented revolution is the name for us. And that's something where we also see in our words, this is the entry point for us for the digital future. So that's the entry point, but we have a long, what we talked before, roadmap of ideas, what we want to try and do to improve that further, to go to the next steps, and in the end to bring more value even to the customer.
It reminds me, we had a discussion with Richard Turin on digital innovation labs. And we had a discussion about calculating the return on investment for digital innovation, but it's not always straightforward. Like, do you have any advice? Because you mentioned we have this, let's say, external part of digital strategy, internal part of digital strategy. Both of them are split into multiple different possible areas of exploration. Now we have some business priorities, and we need to somehow align our digital dreams and this guy in Ferrari driving at the same time designing precision machinery and ability of observing if the machine is on or off. So what would be your advice on how to calculate which projects are really having chances of success or you may hope for achieving ROI and benefit, like financial benefit in the end?
Yeah. So what I see, this governance is very important to look what runs not. And what's very important also is trying small things. So doing like MVPs, trying things and then deciding if that's working. And if not, then throwing the things away again. And I think that's also a big cultural shift, and it's not also done in a day. It's also something which takes very long time, and but it helps a lot to try and to have the possibilities to go into different directions. Don't invest too much money, but see which direction is running best. And I think that's such a secret. It's not a secret, but it saves a lot of money in the end.
Because I'm guessing you very often get asked, as in your work, someone you work for comes to you and says, "What am I getting out of it?" Right? How is that everything what you've done? How much is that to the bottom line? I hate this expression, bottom line of the company, because it's so narrow.
Yeah.
But this is ultimately the question you have to answer, right?
Well, there is nothing below the bottom, so that's why it's bottom line. It's like you cannot get lower than that in your analysis.
Yeah, and that's also something when you work in such a classical company, it's often very hard to bring this mindset in. So the understanding for us for it is not that easy sometimes. And I work also in startups. As you know, I'm doing also my own startups on the side as side projects, and there it's super easy. So you just do things, you throw them away the next week and you do something else, and you are just super fast and super flexible. So it's just another world.
I can see how, especially in an industry where there's a lot of complication, a lot of precision, and I'm guessing with the design, if especially if you approach customers, like the Marian said, with chemical industry, stopping the process obviously has a huge cost. With your industry, I'm kind of maybe extrapolating here, but I think I won't be far off saying that if you go to a customer and says, we've designed a new machine, and this one is 0.5% better than the previous one, but you have to spend another, I don't know how much the machines are, but let's say another 10 million to get that improvement, the customer will probably not be very impressed. So you have to present them with a quantum leap in innovation. So again, this is a very different approach that you have to take.
Yeah. And I think that's where really digital helps us. With when I look now at this big smartphone or this big steering system, so people can now much easier steer that technology. So that's much easier to learn in the future. That will improve over time, but it's multi-touch. It's like a smartphone. So it's not like in the past, these big screens and these keyboards and whatever was there. So it's leaner, it's getting easier. It has a camera integrated, so you connect with the support if you have a problem and just tell them what's your problem, and you can discuss that interactively. And it's like WhatsApp system. You can chat with the support, and so there are all these features in which makes it much easier to go forward and to work.
And this is the topic that we didn't touch in this discussion, and I think it's pretty important. Is integration between different business functions. Digital is bringing together, and like I guess that live cooperation between support and design and engineering teams in the past it wasn't really close nor easy, because getting someone from the innovation lab, from his welder, of course, and torch lit dark cave, to the phone where the client was trying to say something in different language to explain to him that he should actually plug it in the wall or whatever, what is the problem, was much harder than now, when, first of all, the issues are connected. So the issues that you reach out to the engineer are for sure relevant, but also reaching out to him, and he needs to spend much less time to be able to give this live advice. So it connects this client-facing part of the strategy with inner part of your digital strategy, but also brings verticals together. It's pretty interesting. That digital strategy should be all-encompassing. Having digital strategy for sales is maybe not as beneficial as it would be if you would do it on the enterprise scale.
Yeah,
which is true for most of the strategies. But here we can see the example that this topic just emerged from the discussion. It's not assumption. It's the conclusion.
And I think also when you work on business models and you create new business models, it's also interesting to bring all these people together. So having sales integrated, having technology integrated, having marketing, finance, whatever, people with different mindset. I did that often in the chemical industry. And there we always made such innovation garages and put a lot of people together, closed the garage for a week, and then looked what is happening. And sometimes it was very exciting what happened there inside. And interesting was, of course, there were some MVPs, some small products which were developed, or some processes, whatever. It went into a different direction. But also the understanding for each other was growing. So the marketing people understood, the finance people have these problems, and vice versa. And that helped also the culture to grow and to emerge. And I think that's also an exciting thing to do. So bringing people together and doing design thinking, working with them on such innovations.
I would be afraid of bringing a lot of people into one place and giving them chemicals which can go boom. It's like Somehow I would have my doubts.
No, but it's a powerful concept. Bring people together. We had a whole episode with Jamie J about bringing everyone in the company together and making them, giving them the opportunity to learn from each other. And as you said, Marcus, the technology that we have, and part of digital strategy should be to enable that, because nowadays more than ever we've got the information. And touching on information, a recent project which Marian and I did on mapping data flows in a company, that kind of in a very natural way showed us that data from support goes to the development, to R&D for new products. Data from marketing needs to go there. Data from marketing needs to go to support. There's mapping this. Once you get a clear vision of where the information in the company goes, you suddenly you can show people in a very palpable way that they all are in it together and they all really depend on each other. Not really verticals, because the vertical kind of structure, it's part of the old age
of the past that we spoke.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nowadays it's all linked, and it needs to be linked. And it's great that you mentioned this, that part of the digital strategy needs to be that interconnection. So in summary, kind of to build this kind of digital strategy, we need to get in there as early as possible, if I understand correctly. Get the whole company together and start thinking about we discussed the external facet, the client facing facet. We discussed the internal side, where your company can be completely changed if you really embrace working digitally and kind of listen to what your people are saying, listen to what your data is saying, and just be agile is another, I think, conclusion. So to kind of give people a bit more insight into the ideas that you mentioned, that you have your own startups. You also publish. I saw quite a lot of your posts on LinkedIn, which are very interesting. I especially like the recent one where you discuss the cultural differences between different negotiations and discussions. That was I think very very powerful. Where can people reach you elsewhere?
Yeah, so LinkedIn. I'm active on LinkedIn. And of course, United Grinding, that's my main job. And then my side job, my most important one is Quarero. That's a student platform, and we connect students and company. And of course, it's also innovation. So the idea there is, if you have a problem as a company, so you need something to be developed, you need a marketing flyer, you need a video, whatever it is, you can put that into the platform and we match with the perfect student worldwide. And that's quite exciting, very international. We worked a lot already in Africa, in Asia, in different countries. And that's quite also very exciting to work with really young people and see how they get started in companies. And so that's also potential to reach me.
Yeah, then we need to connect you to some of our previous guests, because we had episodes with guests who spoke exactly about those kinds of problems. We had the president of the North Idaho College, with whom we talked about his approach to getting students kind of work with the business and developing the skills this way. I thank you very much, Marcus, for the time and for sharing with us the insights. It was very interesting and very practical, and I think in a certain way made more more tangible by actually discussing an example, not a digital company, but discussing a physical, real world, heavy industry company. And as always, let's hope it was of use to someone.
Thank you for listening.
As usual, we'd like to recommend you check Marcus's post on LinkedIn, where he frequently shares very insightful content related to digital transformation, communication, and business. All links to the references will be available in the notes to this episode.
Also, don't miss the next one, where we will be talking about data strategy. To discuss with us the details of data strategy approaches and the place of data within digital transformation, we'll be talking to Sami Sharma, CEO of DataZoom, a data strategy and analytics consultancy.
Subscribe on your favorite podcast platform or visit bdr.show to find out more about future episodes and guests. You can also check out cognition.llc for more information on Cognition shared solutions, our services, and other events hosted by us.
For now, it's thank you from myself, your friendly neighborhood data guy, Dr. Marian, and my co-host, Artur.
Thank you.